What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna talk about hybrids in modern performance cars and supercars. Now, if you look back 20 years ago, the first hybrid I ever heard of was a Prius. Slow, but very efficient. Fast forward years later, when we saw the $1 million hypercars, the P1, the 918, as well as the LaFerrari, that was pretty unique, seeing the hybrid tech not there for efficiency, but there for power. And then fast forward to the modern era, 2026 model year cars are out and about. You're seeing more and more plug-in hybrids and hybrids, not just for efficiency, but for fun. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the old generation. So we're not necessarily comparing the Gallardo to this E-Ray, but the Gallardo is representing this era. The Ferrari 458s, the 488 even the F8, or Audi R8s, Porsches, the McLaren 570S, things like that. And then this is kind of representing where we're seeing sports cars and supercars going. The Ferrari 296, the SF90, those are hybrids. The all-new Lamborghini Temerario and Revuelto are plug-in hybrids. Porsche's got them now, the new McLaren Artura, and then obviously the E-Ray and the ZR1X. So we're seeing electrification in the performance cars now. Is it still fun? So let's drive the old school technology of yesterday and get into the newest technology of today and see if it's any fun. So now let's do the first test to really showcase a really neat feature with electrification on a performance car. So let's cut right now to my cold start this morning of my car. When I go to an early morning Cars and Coffee, I literally take these foam pieces, I'll put them behind my exhaust tips with my garage door closed, do the cold start with everything closed, then open up the door when my car tones down to leave. That way I don't annoy the neighbors. I am that guy where I'm actually respectful to the neighbors. It does a good job. If you're standing on the outside, it doesn't really sound obnoxious. As you can tell, that is quite loud, and that's why I do it with the garage door closed. Warm start, let's still hear what a V10 would sound like. So moving on to the E-Ray, which again, similar technology you're gonna find in Lamborghini's lineup, a Temerario, Revuelto, or Ferrari's 296, SF90, new Porsches, new McLarens. You're seeing this on a lot of cars, even BMW M5s. So the cool thing, and I would honestly love to have this just because it's a good feature, but in the E-Ray especially, so I'm gonna go ahead, tap the start button twice. The electronics will turn on, and I'm gonna click the drive mode. You can see it spinning. And we're gonna go into shuttle mode. So that is a way to do that. Stealth mode also works as well. From here, foot on the brake. And that is the loudest you're gonna get. So, reverse. Got some very funky sounds though, in this specific mode. But, as you can tell, that is pulling it out. So let's begin driving in the Gallardo. Now again, this isn't necessarily comparing this car to that car, but this car's technology is early 2000s, a big engine, a simple transmission. This is what performance supercars and sports cars have been, at least from us growing up. But in this car, there's just simple fun. And yes, there's a lot of compromises and sacrifices with a car like this. Like we just talked about with the cold start, it is a loud car. It makes noise, but that is also part of the fun. You get to hear that engine all the time. It is just something that is thrilling with the sounds it makes.
Even to the people we just passed.
So you definitely get the thrill in a car like this, but yeah, you have some sacrifices with just being what it is all the time.
Less that you have to focus on, really.
True. Yeah, there's no modes like to think about aside from just make sure I'm in sport mode and manual. That's really the only mode. And even when you look at newer versions of this, the Huracan's the same thing. Modern R8's kind of the same thing as well.
Another thing with these vehicles from our generation, kind of the older style supercar, sports cars, is just the simplicity of them with the tech. You could listen to music if you got sick of the exhaust for whatever reason. You have all your daily driving tech features, AC, heated seats. It's the simplicities that make it fun to drive.
And then when you get those revs, you just have the pure engine and just that old school feeling. So now sitting in the garage in the E-Ray, which is representing the modern hybrid supercar and sports cars, turning the ignition on for all the electronics. We can have the logo turn on and then go into stealth mode. So now foot on the brake. Shuttle mode is not for like actually driving. That is literally for just pulling out. I'll still make the funny noises, but that is just for pulling out of your driveway like this. Now imagine it's Cars and Coffee, 6:30 a.m. As long as I don't give it like extra throttle, it's not going to fire up the engine. And again, depending on which hybrid sports car and supercar you have, they have better technology and more capabilities. But as we get to the end of the neighborhood and start accelerating for real, the engine's going to fire up and we are in our normal performance car.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so you really gave it some juice, huh?
I gave it just a little bit too much, I guess, but yeah, it fired right up. And now we're in a V8. So from here, a hybrid sports car, when we first heard of a hybrid, it was probably the Toyota Prius. Did you ever think in a million years you would want a sports car that was a hybrid?
Probably not. With what we grew up with,
yeah,
all the cars that we idolize, like this is a new car. This came out
a couple years ago?
A couple years ago, at least the E-Ray's 1 or 2 years old, so.
And the hybrid sports cars like 10 years ago, the P1, which, you know, we're not thinking about $1 million cars.
I will say it's definitely neat to see this technology kind of trickle down. It's still a 6-figure car.
Right.
A 7-figure car like what we saw when they were first introduced in some of those models. So
yeah,
it's cool to see it kind of coming down to the more affordable and daily vehicles that you see.
And keep in mind, like, you can get a plug-in hybrid RAV4, you know, there's average daily drivers that are plug-in hybrids, standard hybrids, of course we've seen on the Prius, but to kind of have it in this sweet spot, we're still not into like the Toyota Supra level sports car. I think that would be a really good way to really get it to the mass market.
The Supra hybrid?
Yeah, like it would be a cool touch.
Hybrid,
yeah, but to have it in this, and you can get like sedans like M5s and stuff, but this is a pretty performance-focused sports car, and then the rest are the performance-focused supercars. To have the hybrid tech now, it's pretty neat to be able to kind of go back and forth between the engine and EV system.
Well, what's really cool about the E-Ray is I owned a plug-in hybrid X5. In order to utilize the plug-in hybrids, you have to consistently charge the battery. It does charge from the engine, but you have to plug it in. You have to charge it externally to get those full benefits. Once it goes through the 30 miles or whatever the range is on those plug-ins, it's just, it depletes and then you don't get the full benefits. Otherwise, you're using a battery this big to propel a 6,000 pound vehicle.
Yeah,
and
then
just your benefits of that system are just depleted and go nowhere. So with this, not being a plug-in hybrid, you only have a range of 3 or 4 miles on just the EV. It's not intended to be a full EV, but you have some really good benefits because not only do you get the stealth mode that we just talked about, but you get an all-wheel drive model now with better grip and more power than just a standard Stingray, which is the same engine, rear-wheel drive. Now you have the same engine, but with an all-wheel drive battery system too.
And I think the technology is neat because whether you go plug-in hybrid or not on a sports car or a supercar, we're always plugging in our cars for the battery tender anyway. So like the inconvenience of plugging it in, I think is kind of gone on a sports car that you care a lot more about this than your daily driver. So even if it were a plug-in, it's not really as inconvenient because you're going to be doing that anyway with a battery tender on just your typical sports car or supercar. I think the E-Ray itself is kind of neat because you get the benefits of being able to leave the garage and driveway and neighborhood in EV mode. And then like we're at 90% battery, it was just at 80 and now we're at 91. It is literally charging itself. The harder you drive, the better it charges. And most of the supercars do the same thing to where when you start driving it harder, like we're at 94%.
95.
That's insane.
96,
You're always at a charged battery, so you're always getting the benefit with this specific car. Now, fun factor.
Oh yeah.
Can this thing still be fun?
Absolutely.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
that is fast. So fast.
That's quick.
And even though when you look at the plugins, the Temerario is not much heavier than the heaviest Huracan. The Revuelto isn't that much heavier than the Aventador. So even though they've added modern technology, all that stuff, adding the battery and the electric motors, when you look at electric cars though, You know, the GMC plug-in, the Sierra EV,
Yeah.
9,000 pounds. That's three times
wild.
the weight of the Gallardo.
Yeah.
3 times. That's insane. That weighs 3,000, 4,000 more pounds than a Sierra 1500.
And then the BMW M5 plug-in hybrid is
Yeah.
like 1,500 pounds more than the outgoing model.
And then what about your X5? So you just now have the normal 6-cylinder.
The hybrid system takes up the whole rear end of the vehicle, all the cargo and like underneath the back seat.
Yeah.
So now I just have a spare tire there and nothing else. So maybe 800 pounds minimum.
So when you're
That'd
looking
be a
at,
good bet.
yeah, when you're looking at those kind of cars that have crazy electric capabilities, I feel like you start to lose a lot of the benefits. But these sports cars, I don't really see any hindrance.
There's so many more benefits to this that I can see versus my plug-in hybrid X5, and that's why I decided to get rid of it, because going straight to gas for that particular model
Yeah.
made so much more efficiency sense. This makes sense already as is. I can see the performance benefits. They're actually usable in something that, like, you don't have to worry about plugging in it and all that. Like, it's actual usable technology if you want to pay more for it.
Yeah, so obviously price point, that's a different story, but the fact that we're still at 100% battery, I will never have to think about charging these performance car hybrids.
Yeah.
And you're always getting the benefit of the extra power, the extra grip, the convenience of leaving and entering your home and neighborhood in silence. So you're not getting the drawbacks that you found with a daily driver plug-in hybrid.
Right.
This range of high performance sports car to supercar, the hybridization of it, I think has only been good.
Yeah.
The only downfall maybe is if you're making the engine smaller and smaller to where you're kind of losing the character.
What if this went to like a 6-cylinder or something?
Yeah, this was
went
a
turbo with the hybrid.
Yeah, because like look at the AMG 63, the C63.
4-cylinder.
They didn't sell.
Yeah.
Nobody liked them.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not a good way to go. However, if you added a hybrid to the, you know, twin turbo V8, that would have made it probably even better.
If they completely go away from like the ICE engines, that the technology that some people do want.
Right.
Like if they're adding all of this technology, and not everybody wants to do that. So as long as they're giving us all the options.
True.
You have certain buyers who want this, certain buyers who want this. Personally, if I wanted a Corvette, this would be a great option to go with.
Yeah.
I would want the Z06 just for
that exotic
that
V8.
exotic sound, but that's why they have 2 different options, right?
Yeah.
But not every company seems to be doing that. Like
some are getting rid of the good stuff.
Right.
Which is not a good way to
If they
go.
can give us everything.
Yeah.
You can appeal to everyone.
And then you can see what actually is going to sell.
Right.
But I think overall the hybridization technology in these performance vehicles, it has a lot of benefits without really sacrificing much.
Yeah.
And they're definitely pretty sweet.
So there we have it with the latest technology that we were able to check out with this E-Ray here. Definitely cool to see where vehicles are going compared to where they were. It's still obviously nice to drive these, but you get a little bit more of those daily driving comforts, added power, some more performance style benefits without sacrificing too much.
Cool to see you can still have this technology and have a fun supercar or sports car without being electric. So I think that's the biggest thing is we don't want these cars to turn into electric cars. But with this, you kind of get the benefits of the EV system without any of the sacrifices.
Yeah, without electrification. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. We have a lot more content with this E-Ray, so take a look at all those videos, full review, mountain driving, and just what it's like to experience for a week. So we hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. We'll see you all in the next video.